Today we'll talk about food. What should be the ratio of food, liquid and air in your stomach? How often should you eat? And does intermittent fasting work? So stay tuned. In the past 10 years, I have tried countless amounts of diet, low carb diet, liquid diet, 5-2 diet, intermittent fasting, and many more. And what I always found is it will work for a while and then soon it will go back to the normal. After a while, I would lose motivation and question the way I did things. After a while, I started questioning things. There must be something fundamentally wrong that in my thinking or in my approach that I didn't gain this long-term success. And so when I started looking back, certain things came to my surface, and that's what I'm going to share today. So first thing, having goals which are inward than more outward. What do I mean by that? Previously, my goals were external. Want to grow muscles. I want to lose weight. I don't want pimples on my face. These are all goals which are outwardly. These are the things you can see and observe. However, what I realized is my goal needed to be more inward. I wanted to feel healthy. I wanted more energy in my body. So when your goal becomes more inward, it's something that you're doing for yourself, not for others to see or debate or judge. It's for you and for your own understanding. So all of a sudden, your mind shifts. It changes the approach and it is analyzing its own self, and it's going to be more honest. So again, know your whys, know your intentions, and rather than an outwardly goal, make it an inward goal. Second thing I missed was consistency. Some of the things that I did in the past were things that I couldn't do consistently. For example, a 5-2 diet, that's not consistent. That's 2 days this, 5 days this. Your mind has to remember too much. A low carb diet, then again, you have to adjust the things outwardly, which sometimes are not even in your hands. Secondly, all of these had like a 7-day plan, 14-day plan, 1-month plan, 3-month plans. All of these were time limited. All of them will have some kind of a cheat day, and this just wasn't consistent enough. The consistency should be across everything. So if you are doing a plan, it should be 7 days a week. If you are doing something, you should be able to do 7 days a week, no matter what the situation, no matter what the outside conditions. Because it's only then that your mind changes. It becomes part of your subconscious. It becomes an intuitive action. And I have read a lot of books about on habits as well. Some mention that, if you do anything for 30 days, some mention 60 days, some mentions 90 days, some mention 10,000 hours. The Vedic knowledge says 12 years. That's how long it takes for something to be part of your subconscious permanently. So again, doing something 7 days a week, non-stop, for 12 years at least, is what will give you a lasting change, a lifestyle change, a lifelong change. Third one is conscious eating. We live in a world full of consumerism. There are ads and restaurants and bars and fast food joints, takeaway joints, so much related to food. We are bombarded by this every day. And what we don't realize is all of these, repeating it thousands of times, becomes part of subconscious. So a lot of these cravings are part of those things, part of those subliminal messages given to us by all this consumer world. One thing we should all be aware of is conscious eating. And so what's conscious eating? Conscious eating means understanding what you eat, looking at the food before you put it in your mouth. Understand how much salt it has, how much sugar it has, how much chilies it has, how much did I have earlier. Just understand the food, understand the reaction of the food in your stomach. And conscious eating also means not having snacks. We see few snacks in our house and instantly we start munching. Again, those should be avoided. We have one proper meal a day or 2 proper meals a day, and that should be enough. There's no need for snacks. There's no need for having twice the amount of food than your stomach can handle just because it's tasty. So conscious eating is all about having the right portion, the smaller portions, not eating or munching on snacks subconsciously, and understanding whatever you eat. So give it some time before you eat. Have a look at what are the ingredients, what is it made of, what did I have earlier, do my body needs this. Just give it some time. So conscious eating is a key to understanding food. Fourth is moderate diet. And what do you mean by moderate diet is what is the ratio that you should fill up your stomach with food, with water and with air for it to work in its most optimum self. So the moderate diet is also about Sattvic diet, which is soft, smooth food which can be digestible quickly. So what we need to understand is that if we spend 2 hours a day eating, that's twice as much time or even more spent by your body digesting it. That's all the energy it's consuming. So the softer the food is, the smoother it is to digest. The more you chew, the less it has to digest. The smoother the food is. So vegetarian, vegan food is even more smooth and sweeter, softer. And so more of that food, the less the energy your body has to spend on it, the more you can focus on your mind. So that's kind of the Sattvic diet, which is the food that doesn't have negative impacts in your body. It digests and adds energy rather than creating inertia. The second aspect of it is, think of it like a washing machine. If you stuff it with full of clothes, it won't have time to move. It won't have time to circle around and clean it properly. The same is with our stomach. So if it's too full of food, then we won't be able to digest things properly. So it needs the space, it needs the liquid to make sure that it churns and dissolves and creates a nice smoothie out of it. So this is the ratio that's recommended in Vedic text. Half food, 1/4 liquid and 1/4 air. I have mentioned the ratio, but my stomach size is different to yours and your stomach size is different to somebody else's. So to understand what your full stomach feels like, you need to experiment. You need to experiment every day by doing different things. You need to experiment by eating 4 breads or 6 breads and understand what your full is. The next day try half and then see where your stomach lies. Again, you have to adjust yourself in terms of, okay, how much hungry I remain if I eat half. And you have to get to that stage. For, let's say if 8 breads is your full stomach, then you need to practice every day to get to the 4 bread a day stage. So it's a practice that you have to constantly understand your own self, your body, adjust over time, and it can take weeks, even months. So don't just take the ratio of food, water and air. Experiment with your own self and understand it and put it into practice. And again, don't do any forced things, just slowly and surely you will get there. Fifth and final one is fasting. The answer to any of the diet which is to manage your food is food. So let's do a small exercise and let's try and understand the problem with it. Listen to me very carefully and close your eyes for a second or a minute and do and visualize as I say. Okay? Close your eyes and visualize what I say. Now I want you to not think or visualize a pink elephant. I repeat, do not think or visualize a pink elephant. Now you can open your eyes. Did you manage to not think about it? Did the pink elephant appear? I bet it did. So in the same way, if you think about food this, food that, then the only thing you are repeating is food. So you are not gonna be able to get away from it. So the answer to food is fasting. When humans were hunter-gatherers in winter or during certain times, they didn't get food for days. And so by proxy, they were doing intermittent fasting. Even in religious texts of pretty much all or most religions there is some mention of fasting, and this is a natural occurrence. Our body is very smart, it adjusts based on it. In fact, it's scientifically proven now that if you do certain hours of fasting, your energy level will increases. And I will share some of the links and research that has been recently found. So fasting is a very natural thing. So instead of thinking food, start moving towards fasting. Fasting is a very powerful exercise to increase your willpower, to increase your self-control and achieve what you want. So fasting, I think, is a key thing that I think everyone should do at least whenever, however they can. The most common one people do, and I myself have been doing for a few months, is 16/8. And this is in, if you search on intermittent fasting, there's loads and loads of things about it, and there's different kind of fasting, with water, without water, 24-hour fasting. So 16/8 is the fasting which I have been following for a few months, where there's 16-hour gap where you don't eat anything, and 8-hour gap where you plan and design your meals around it. And this is the one I've been successfully been able to do for more than few months now. Again, important thing is, don't start on 16 hours and then change it to more hours or less hours, because then that's a perfect recipe for failure. Always start with a 4-hour window of not eating, then 6 hours, then 8 hours, then 10 hours, then 12 hours. A good tip for that might be that you take your meal roughly around 6-7 in the evening, and then you don't eat anything till next day around midday. Or so usually the two common practices that people do is 2 p.m. in the afternoon, from where you can have the meal, to the last meal about 10 p.m. at night. I find 10 p.m. a bit late, so the practice I follow is roughly around, I eat between 11 to 7 or 12 to 8. Those are the windows I follow, and again, following it every day, 7 days a week, non-stop, no matter where you are, what you are doing, 7 days a week, you follow that, you make it consistent. Another important tip is, sometimes I used to do this, which is, if you're coming to the end of your window, I would usually start stuffing myself with food, just in fear of that, oh, I won't be able to eat for the next 16 hours, so I need to make sure I have something. So even though I might have had a meal 2-3 hours before, I'll still stuff myself in fear of not having any food for next 16 hours. So I wouldn't advise that. What I realized with, again, just trying and experimenting to understand myself, is if I have food around 4 or 5 in the evening, I can have 1 meal a day, and then that should be it. I can have 1 meal a day in the 24 hours. The other way to practice is to plan it right. So I usually, in other days, what I do is I have my first meal around 11-12, and then I'll time it to make sure that I have something after 6 or 7. So I don't feel hungry in those 16 hours. And in between, because you plan it after just before 7, you got few hours before you go to sleep, so it easily ties in well. Only thing you might have to miss is breakfast, and I personally never had a lot of breakfast in the past, so it wasn't too difficult. But it's a matter of practice. In case you get hungry in that 16-hour window of fasting, what you can allow yourself is water, obviously. Then some people choose to have coffee or green tea. I personally have coconut water at home, so I prefer coconut water and water in case I get hungry. And if things get desperate, I do end up having some milk. That's not happened to me in a while, but in early days I did. Again, don't be too hard on yourself. Just, it's a marathon, it's not a 100-meter race. So stick to it whichever way you can, and then slowly it will become a subconscious habit. So practicing these 5 things, which is making your goal go from outward goals to inward goals, keeping it consistent, conscious eating, moderate diet in the ratios that we discussed, and fasting. These are the 5 things that has substantially changed my approach towards food and diet in my life. And doing these 5 things, I have never felt more healthier in my life before. I hope this was useful. For many more videos like this, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.